1:30. Let's start with roll call.
Candelas,
Here.
Ortiz,
Present.
Foley,
Here.
Vice Chair Davis, and Chair Cohen.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to start with our first committee report. We don't have any review or consent items today, so we'll start with Rob giving us a quarterly status report on our city infrastructure strategy.
Good afternoon, Transportation and Environment Committee and members of the public. Rob Lloyd, Deputy City Manager for the City of San Jose. I have the privilege of sharing this update on behalf of Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager, Erica Garafo, Lead Resilience Strategist, and key personnel from across our city departments. Did it go? I can't see. All right, cool. So the first, all right, on the first slide, as a reminder, the city infrastructure strategy focuses on 5 objectives: disaster ready and climate smart, transportation aviation, clean energy resilience, water resilience, and natural environment restoration at the top. 16 work streams align with these objectives and represent the most impactful change initiatives underway. You see these initiatives in the boxes on the screen. This is in addition to the daily service delivery of core services. As you can see on this screen, each quarter, the workstream leads and the respective departments develop their committed key results for each initiative within the city infrastructure strategy. At the end of each quarter, we evaluate each workstream on the completion of their planned key results and assign an overall rating of green, yellow, or red. Green means the workstream is solidly on track with no course corrections required. Yellow means the workstream is largely on track but requires minor course corrections or problem solving and mitigation. And red means the workstream is off track or has experienced a significant shift off baseline during that quarter. Staff uses these scores as part of the execution as learning, and these ratings are used to identify where teams need additional support or a change of direction is needed to be successful. As you can see, quarter 2 had a higher distribution of yellows than in quarter 1. Where we had red and yellows, we met with the workstream leads a couple of weeks ago to see how we're tracking for quarter 3 deliverables. I'm happy to report that almost all of our yellows are back on track this quarter, and we anticipate a much higher completion rate for quarter 3. The full list of scored quarter 2 key results organized by workstream is in the memo on this item, and the in-process quarter 3 results are listed in the memo, and we'll report on the completion status when we return to the committee in June for this update. Today, I want to share some details on the one red workstream, and then give you a few highlights of work completed in quarter 2. All right, cool. The workstream Seismically Safe Soft Story Apartments was given an overall red status because of an additional community outreach item requested by the Housing and Community Development Committee, which resulted in missing a deadline to finalize ordinance language. While this was a delay on schedule, the additional outreach will ensure a more vetted and complete draft ordinance. Specifically, staff planned to finalize the mandatory safe soft story apartment ordinance language in December of 2023. However, this timeline will be adjusted because the Housing and Community Development Commission created an ad hoc committee to research soft story seismically retrofit policies and programs and incorporate the findings into the proposed ordinance. Staff will conduct additional outreach via the Housing Providers Roundtable scheduled for January 2024, or did conduct additional outreach. Staff intended to update the Housing and Community Development Committee on outreach efforts and a draft ordinance this past December, but this was pushed out to February to incorporate the anticipated feedback from the Housing Providers Roundtable. The item was presented to HCDC on February 8th, and staff will present the proposed ordinance and implementation program to the Community and Economic Development Committee in this March. So out of the 29 key results completed in quarter 2, just want to share a handful and recognize staff's accomplishments across a wide range of infrastructure-related initiatives. For the items that you see on the screen, we completed the planning process for the quarter 3 citywide community or continuity of operations plan that we call the COOP. We established the guaranteed max price for the airport facilities budgeting reallocation project and secured the funding from from the state and region to complete the project's federal funding plan. You also see that we improved customer satisfaction on vehicle abatement, now vehicle concerns, and that customer satisfaction has risen from a low of 14% and has now crossed over 40% satisfied. Filed the interconnection application for interconnections on high voltage transmission terminals. We also finished the scope of work on the EV fleet master plan development, presented a plan to develop a direct potable reuse facility at the joint City-County Valley Water Board meeting that occurred a few weeks ago, and planted 300 trees. The 1,900 total planted thus far, you see, goes towards the city's goals of 2,000 trees planted this year, compared to about an average of 400 in past years, so a significant increase there. So with that, we're here for any questions or comments that the committee has. Again, on that tree one, do also want to call out City Council and this committee for your support for the Community Forest Management Plan. That was, those investments were key in creating the divisions that have executed that work.
All right. Thank you, Rob, for that update. Do we have any members of the public wanting to speak?
We have no public comment.
Okay. Let's see whether members of the committee would like to ask some questions. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the staff at all departments for their continued work on the infrastructure strategy. I wanted to follow up on the soft story ordinance. I wanted to hear, can you speak a little bit about what input from the Housing Provider Roundtable is being implemented in the ordinance?
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if we have someone from the group. We don't. I'm going to have to follow up with you on that one. I do understand from the report from the group that there were two pieces of that feedback. One was the practical approach on options for folks to be able to afford things, because there's a significant financial impact, and then the timing and how that structure would go are the two items that were on the update. But Councilmember, I will follow up with you and get you additional detail on that.
Great, and I mean, we may have to follow up, but my other question, very relevant to the first one, is how are we going to make sure that we're protecting tenants from like passed through costs for the overall updates to the building, so they're not passing it off to tenants? But I assume we'll have to follow up on that. Okay. And then in regards to a work stream that's very important to my district, which is vehicle blight, are there any insights from the pilot program investigations that can help improve timely response to residents' concerns?
At least according to the data, Councilmember, I think there are a couple lessons that we have from that. One is the additional enforcement has meant a lot to the community, where the satisfaction does go up when they see that we're out in the field and we'll investigate their item, and the ability to reopen an item that in the past we closed and they felt was closed inappropriately. The customer contact has helped those improve. There is a category, a large number, where people still aren't satisfied unless they see something that they don't like resolved. That's really what they want. And in some of those cases, we have said that, you know, the parking is illegal, so it's fine. If not desirable, often a car parked in a spot or a vehicle that neighbors don't appreciate necessarily. The third one is we have more work to do on the oversized and the vehicle setbacks. Once those ordinances come, which is planned for April 9th, we'll have more to do to continue to try to get that up to the goal of the 50% satisfied mark. But those are the lessons we have so far. I will say it also fluctuates. We've seen seasonal variability when people park more versus less. So like in December, January, we will see fewer complaints. And then into the January timeframe. But then as school restarts and other events occur, then we start seeing increased numbers from February on. So there's some summer variability too.
Okay, final question. Is the 311 reporting feature still on track for launch by the end of this month?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Is the 311 reporting feature still on track for launch at the end of this month?
It is. So it's in testing right now. I'll confirm that it's still slated for March release, but the last update I got, which was 2 weeks ago, it is
okay.
Slated for March.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion to accept this report.
Oh, I move to accept report.
Second.
All right, thank you. I'm appreciative of the work on the community forest management plan and the planting of trees. We're getting them planted across, I know, all over the city. I know your DOT and parks are identifying spaces. We're not even, I know as a council member, I'm not even aware when they are coming in some locations. We actually got an email from somebody this morning saying, did the city just plant trees along Sierra Road? And I said, I don't know, but it was interesting in their message, like, what's the purpose? So some people are not fully on board yet, but which is weird to me, but I'm really excited. We've gotten mostly positive feedback though from people who are really thankful for the city stepping up and planting more trees around our community. So, thank you. Let's
And
move
Chair,
on to-
if I can add
oh,
on
go
that
ahead.
one, there is some additional coordination coming. Sarah and, I forget, in Parks and Rec, they're setting their plans and also working with the neighborhood outreach team. You'll hear more shortly about those planned initiatives, but also where it's been timely with contractors, they've done some of those plantings to try to hit the goal. But you'll hear more, all the council districts will hear more shortly about what the plans are for the coming.
I mean, I guess
fiscal
it's a good point. We should probably be aware when tree plantings are coming. I'm not that, it's not that bad for me. I mean, seeing more trees is good, but I guess it would be helpful to know what's being planned where, especially sometimes we see the little flags being marked. We don't, we haven't been told what's coming, so it's good. Thank you. All right, let's move to just vote to accept this item. All right, that motion carries 5-0. So we're on to our second item, the San Jose Clean Energy Program Status Report. I know Zach and team are here to present to us, so come on down.
Good afternoon, Chair, council members. Zach Strike, Assistant Director in the Energy Department. I'm joined by Kate Ziamba, who is the team lead for our programs work, and a Senior Environmental Program Manager, Leslie Park, Senior Power Resources Specialist, and Marco Santiago, Power Resources Specialist too. Today we're going to start with a little background about the program's work to date, go to an overview of our current programs, talk about how we score the programs and input we've received from the community on them, and finish with some near-term program recommendations. So San Jose Clean Energy began developing programs almost as soon as we launched service, initially led by a Fuse fellow who worked on that for a couple of years. We conducted a 2-year stakeholder engagement process to develop the program's roadmap, which guides the type of programs we'll offer over the next several years. Our programs focus on 6 areas shown there on the slide. Improving equity and affordability underpins all of these areas. We have a goal of investing half of our program incentive funds in priority communities. As you are well aware, in fall 2021, City Council adopted a carbon neutral by 2030 goal. San Jose Clean Energy plays an important part by providing a carbon-free electricity supply to the city. I should say we are a low carbon supply today, working up towards a carbon-free supply by 2030. But that's only a part of the solution. We need to electrify transportation and buildings to achieve the goal. San Jose Clean Energy's programs can provide incentives to residents and businesses to help them electrify to meet the goal.
Thank you. So we are currently implementing the 12 programs and educational initiatives listed here. Their lifetime budgets total $38.5 million, 80% of which comes from external funding. We will not go into detail about these programs today, but are happy to answer questions. To date, our current programs have saved nearly 18 million kilowatt hours of electricity, which is the same as the annual usage of about 1,600 homes. The programs have also saved more than 23 metric tons of CO2 and provided $29 million in customer savings. And now we'll focus on our program recommendations for fiscal year 24-25. First, Leslie will share how we arrived at our program recommendations.
So to develop our program recommendations, staff developed a scoring framework to prioritize programs. To do this, we first reviewed metrics that other energy program implementers use and compared those to our program guiding principles. This led us to our selected weighted metrics, with greenhouse gas emissions and investment in priority communities carrying the greatest weight. Using these metrics, we developed a score for each program. Then we reviewed the top scoring programs and considered qualitative metrics. So in addition to staff program scoring, we're also soliciting feedback from the community. In February of this year, we ran an online survey, and we'll also convene listening sessions early this month to dig into the responses from those surveys. We're seeking to better understand the barriers to adopting emission-saving technologies and better understanding the energy concerns of our residents.
In calendar years 23 and 20, in fiscal year 24-25, we recommend pursuing 7 new programs and 3 program expansions. Having made progress last year towards SJCE's reserve target, we're recommending an increased investment in programs. The total cost through fiscal year 24-25 will be $12 million, and about $5.5 million will come from funding sources, external funding sources we've already secured. We will go into each of the recommended programs in details, starting with vehicle electrification. We have 2 goals in this space. The first is ensuring that residents have equitable access to charging infrastructure and affordable charging rates. And the second is shifting more EV charging to the middle of the day to reduce strain on the grid, lower costs, and soak up the solar and other renewable resources. We're partnering with Public Works, the Department of Transportation, and a consultant to produce a master plan to guide the electrification of the city's fleet and examine city sites for chargers for both fleet and public use. We are also recommending 2 programs to manage EV charging. The first is piloting a new residential rate, a new super off-peak period from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. to incentivize customers with EVs to charge when the grid is flush with solar. And we're going to compare the impact of the rate to the load shifting in a telematics-based load managed charging program, where 500 program participants charging is automatically shifted from peak and overnight to daytime, and they're compensated for that. Now I'll turn it over to Leslie, who will talk about our building electrification program recommendations.
Buildings account for 31% of San Jose's emissions. Direct emissions from homes can be eliminated by replacing natural gas appliances with proven electric technologies like heat pump water heaters, heat pump space heaters, electric cooktops, and electric clothes dryers. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District rules banning the sale of natural gas water heaters and furnaces are beginning in 2027. Incentive programs today will help to drive the demand that will build up the workforce and equipment stocking practices to be ready for these regulations. We're proposing a heat pump incentive program and a zero-interest loan program to enable residents to afford these upgrades. In addition, staff are currently working with consultants to interview workforce members and identify the highest impact workforce development programs. And with that, I'll hand it over to Marcos.
Thank you, Leslie. Good afternoon, committee members and members of the public. For distributed energy resources, there are 2 goals that we're trying to hit with these programs. One is to shape load to improve grid reliability and resilience. The other is to increase the adoption of local distributed energy resources. So with that, we have 3 programs that we're proposing for distributed energy resources, the first of which is a demand response expansion. Demand response programs pay participants to reduce or shift their energy use away from peak hours of the day during the times of the year when energy supply is limited. In 2023, we ran the Peak Rewards pilot, which achieved 1 megawatt of reductions. For 2024, San Jose Clean Energy will be launching a full DR program for both residential and commercial customers. The goal is to have a 5 megawatt resource to call upon by July 2025. In addition to being available to more customers, we'll also be increasing the ways in which customers can participate by enrolling things like smart thermostats, electric vehicle smart chargers, and batteries as well, which will allow for automated demand response. The second one we have on here is an expansion to our Solar Access program. Currently, Solar Access provides 840 San Jose customers in disadvantaged communities with a much needed 20% discount on their bill and 100% renewable energy. While the energy for this program currently comes from a temporary contract, the West Tambo Solar Project is under construction and will be able to supply the energy needed for this program with some energy left to spare. So the proposed expansion here is basically looking to use that leftover energy to extend the program to an additional 150 customers. So they would also be receiving the 20% bill discount and 100% renewable energy. Moving down, battery storage incentive is the last program we're proposing here. And this would incentivize San Jose residents and businesses to install battery storage at their premises, which can be used to store excess solar energy generated during the day for use during the night. This improves grid reliability and also reduces energy costs for the battery installer. While the focus of the program is to provide the upfront incentives for these batteries, we will also tap into these batteries for daily load shifting and demand response. So there's like interplay with the program that we have at the very top there. Thanks, Leslie. And then for program-specific rates, we have one program, an emergency bill relief program that we call SJ Electricity Bill Relief. In February 2024, Council approved a pilot version of this program with the goal of providing 100 residents that are at immediate or future risk of disconnection with up to $1,600 in assistance to reduce overdue balances, pause disconnections, and also help them get back on track with bill payments. In fiscal year 2024 and 25, we recommend extending this to 1,000 customers. So combined, all of the near-term programs that we've talked through today have an estimated annual impact of 100,000 kilowatt hours of energy savings and 3,240 metric tons of CO2 avoided. A lot of the measures described focus on fuel switching, so that really helps that CO2 avoided number there. And then 2.2 million in customer bill savings as well, which is all distributed amongst 7,350 participating customers. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Kate.
Looking ahead to fiscal year 25-26, we plan to increase the number of vehicle electrification programs to help close the EV adoption gap among low-income customers. And so we will explore offering an EV purchase incentive, interest rate buy-down, charging card, workplace charging program, and e-bike rebate. For building electrification, we will explore offering services to make it easier for homes to electrify, such as a concierge service, energy advisor, and a water heater loaner. We will also explore setting up an automated device shop that will offer free devices like smart plugs to enable more participants in our demand response programs. And then finally, we are applying to many grant opportunities, and if awarded, we will create programs using that funding. Our recommendation today is to accept this update and recommend this item for full council consideration at the April 9th council meeting. And with that, we'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that great update. It's really exciting to get to this stage where we beginning to invest in these programs that we've been talking about for a while. Let's start with Councilmember Pam Foley. Councilmember Foley. I'm sorry, public comment. Are there any cards?
We have no public comment.
There we go. Just ahead of myself a little bit. Go ahead, Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you for the briefing today. It was really helpful, and I had all of my questions answered at that time. So I wanted to thank you for that background information. And Zach, I wanted to thank you for getting back to me so quickly with my follow-up question. And with that, I will move approval of the item and cross-reference it to the City Council meeting April 9th.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Chair. I want to begin my comments by thanking staff from, of course, Environmental Services, Transportation, the City Manager's Budget Office, and of course our City Attorney's Office for working together to bring us an update on San Jose Clean Energy programs. As we look at funding in the summary of recommended new near-term programs, my question relates to the mention of staff collaboration with labor organizations to work towards workforce development. I recognize that staff is currently working with consultants to identify scholarships for pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs or sponsoring training events as an avenue for development. I wanted to ask, is there a clear depiction on how much funding we could put into this within the program budget breakdown?
Thank you, Council Member. So we are proposing to use our community investment funds that we receive as part of the power purchase agreements we strike with developers. So far, we have $500,000 in those agreements available to use, and more coming down the pipeline. And so we're proposing to use that $500,000 initially for workforce development programs that are identified by our consultant after consulting with IBEW and other labor groups.
That's great. Really excited about this, and I'm glad we're being innovative when we look at workforce solutions. I also want to thank staff for recognizing the existing barriers to renters as it relates to participation in electrification and energy efficient programs. Is there a preliminary conclusion on strategies to increase renter participation in electrification and energy efficient programs?
Yes, that's a great question. This has come up a lot in our existing residential energy efficiency program, where we've been employing strategies and working with community-based organizations to better reach renters. The problem is not resolved completely, but we're hoping strategies like zero interest loans and working with some technical assistance that we just won from a grant from ACEEE, which is the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. They'll be able to support us with our program design to make sure that it's compatible with renters. So that could be things like working with landlords to better educate them, providing renters the tools and resources to talk to their landlords about these technologies and other interventions.
Great, that was actually going to be my next question, what sort of strategies we can utilize to improve collaboration with property owners and landowners. So it does sound like we're doing something in that avenue. So thank you, appreciate it.
All right, thanks again. I have a few questions, kind of follow-ups to some questions I asked this morning during our briefing. Both on the vehicle electrification programs that we're talking about in terms of charging, moving people around in their charging hours, and also for the zero interest loans and incentives for heat pumps. What is the methods we use to make to let people know about these incentives and how they can take advantage of them?
Thank you. So we, on the vehicle electrification side, we received a list of the DMV where all of our EV drivers live, and so we can do tailored marketing to them about these programs. And then on the zero interest loans.
Yeah, for building electrification, it's very similar to the type of program we ran through energy efficiency. So for marketing, we hope to work in partnership with community-based organizations to co-create a marketing plan like we did in that project. That includes multiple languages and community-vetted messaging. We also had a lot of learnings through that program. Digital marketing, such as emails and websites, updates are pretty simple to include, but we found that sending postcards to homes and posters in community gathering spots are particularly effective at reaching our community members, so we'll definitely employ those strategies as well.
Yeah, because when people have their water heater fail or any of their other appliances fail, the most important thing to them, the two most important things to them are getting it done fast and cost. And so it's important to make sure that people know ahead of time and understand these programs before they get to this situation. My water heater actually failed last week. So when that happens, you don't want to go more than a day without hot water. So it's important that we have a plan of how we're going to make sure people know what they can do. I was thinking that the other probably more important thing is that the contractors who are out there that people call should really understand the programs that we're pushing for, so that their message isn't, oh, electric appliances aren't yet up to snuff. Electric appliances is not an option for you. If you want to get this done quickly, you're going to have to, stick with what you had before. So is there a plan to make sure that our contractors are aware and will be able to push to help people make this choice?
Absolutely. The contractors are critical to these programs. And as we mentioned before, we currently have a project underway in terms of workforce development. But as part of that, we hope to identify trusted messaging pathways so that we can find ways to quickly and easily disseminate information to contractors who can participate in our programs. We also hope to design our programs to be very compatible with existing incentive programs like the Tech Clean California incentives, so that it's very easy for contractors to participate in both programs.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I mean, the issue is there's just hundreds of people different companies and contractors that people call. So how we are very engaged with that entire community will be important as we move forward. Another question. This is not necessarily about this investment, but about our overall clean energy capacity. I don't know if it's a question for Lori or somebody else. One thing I'm hearing, obviously we're trying to incentivize data centers and large energy users to come in, and we've talked about the new LS Power backbone lines that are coming in and potentially having a municipal power option. But I'm also hearing from some of them who are saying we're being told now by PG&E there's no capacity for further installations. There's not enough electricity being generated out there in the state. We might have to move into Mexico and other places where there's more electricity. Do we believe that we are building up the capacity we need to be able to supply some of these large power needs?
Can you hear me now? Yeah. It's a great question. I do think over time we will have the power to supply those data centers and those types of loads, but what's happening right now is there is constrained transmission capacity into the valley, and so that's one of the reasons that the California ISO is building new transmission lines into the valley to be able to serve those loads, but they're not going to be constructed until 2027. That being said, there are a lot of temporary solutions, and so that's something we've been engaged with PG&E on, is how to connect people faster while we're waiting for that transmission line to be built.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that the 2027 timeline is the issue, because if a data center is planning to be built now, it's not going to be built until 2027 or 2028 anyway. I'm hearing further concerns even beyond this transmission line, and maybe it's a conversation that we should have and maybe gather stakeholders together to have a further discussion about this, because they're being told that even with that it's not really a grid capacity issue anymore, that there's just a shortage of available power generation. And so something I think I want to get on the same page and make sure that we're on the same page with them, because many of them are now telling me they're canceling plans for projects or might not be able to move forward because of these larger issues, and I want to make sure that either we understand what the issues are better, or they understand that it's not as bad as they think it is.
Yeah, it's a good, it's definitely a good idea. I would definitely suggest that we have PG&E participate in that so that they can speak directly, but it's something we can help facilitate if that's helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll talk more offline about that. All right, well, thank you. I'm excited to see this first report. I know we've been waiting a while to be able to begin investing in our community electrification capacity, so this is a good first update, and I'm looking forward to this expansion over the years ahead. So let's move to a vote. And that motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Our third item today is our city tow generated City-generated tow services contract, status update. Rachel.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair Cohen, Vice Chair Davis, committee members, and the public. I'm Rachel Roberts, Deputy Director of Code Enforcement, and I'm here today to provide you with a status report of the city-generated tow services delivery model. I'm joined here by our Acting Division Manager with Code Enforcement, Joseph Hatfield, as well as Captain Spears with the San Jose Police Department. So just as a refresher, I wanted to provide a quick overview on what exactly city-generated tow services include. So these are tows that are requested by the city departments to remove a vehicle from the public property. These are typically requested by the San Jose Police Department or the Department of Transportation, and more recently, we've also been seeing more city-generated tow services being requested as part of our Beautify SJ efforts with PRNS. There are currently 6 tow operators who perform these tows in their assigned zones, and we had just about 13,000 tows last calendar year. So as you may recall, back in January of 2019, the City Council accepted the City Auditor's report for tow services, including 17 recommendations. The City Administration at that time provided a response which included 4 key goals. Those 4 key goals included addressing all 17 tow audit recommendations, developing a new city-generated tow services delivery model, developing a new request for proposal for tow services, as well as the award of contract, and then transitioning the new program model from the Department of Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement to the Police Department. And so today we are kind of circling back to those original 4 key goals to give you a status update on the progress staff has made towards completion of those goals. And so the first goal, addressing all 17 tow audit recommendations. Currently, there are 10 open tow audit recommendations remaining. Currently under review with the city auditor are 9 of those 10 that we have requested to be deemed closed or implemented. The remaining recommendation is the recommendation to transition the program over to the police department. And our hope and goal is to complete all these recommendations by the end of this calendar year. On this next slide, we've combined goals 2 and 3, developing a new city-generated tow service delivery model, as well as the award of contract. So just fairly recently, we awarded the contract to Artura, which is formerly known as Auto Return, and that was in August of last year. And we quickly, or shortly thereafter, got underway with project implementation. So far, we have focused on multi-factor authentication, as well as the hexagon integration with the police department CAD system. And we're currently in the requirement gathering phase, as the software is a key component of the implementation of this new tow services model. Once that is fully implemented, the third-party contract administrator, Artura, will be responsible for contracting directly with the tow operators to provide these tow services, overseeing and monitoring their performance, as well as service delivery, and ensuring that all tow requests are completed. They will be performing tracking and analysis and reporting on those performance measures and metrics, assessing and making improvements as needed to our service delivery process, and then providing the software that is going to be used by not only the tow operators and the city staff, but also with a public-facing portal. And the 4th key goal is the transition of the program and oversight over to the police department from PBCE. So currently the transfer of that program is pending the implementation of the onboarding of the new tow contract administrator. And once that program once the implementation has been completed, we expect to begin transferring that program and oversight over to the police department. So currently we are targeting that for August to December of next calendar year, or this calendar year, excuse me. And so to recap, just put kind of our work plan status and targets into a table here for you. We've completed the RFP award and contract. We're in process to get the contract implemented. We're hoping to get those audit recommendations closed out by December, and then start working on that transition of the tow program late summer, early fall. And with that, that concludes our brief report, and we're available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
We have no public comment.
All right. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Chair. First, thank you so much to staff for this very important report and service. I know that many of us on this committee represent districts that are impacted by parking. Well, at least I know that my district definitely is. And part of that is due to a high density of abandoned vehicles. Please know that the work that's being advanced in this front is high of mind for me, as I see many working class families struggle in East San Jose. They struggle to find parking when they come off work. And I think it's critical that we advance this work and ensure that we're being accountable to our residents by keeping our streets clear of vehicles that are abandoned. But I want to appreciate, I want to lift up and appreciate the work that's been done so far. But I look forward to the completion of the audit recommendations. That being said, I did have some questions to help me better understand exactly what we're talking about and the direction that we're headed. I wasn't around when the 2019 audit was completed, so I wanted to ask if we can have just a brief overview of the reasoning for the transition of the administration for the tow contract from PBCE to our police department.
Sure, so I'll try and summarize from memory here. So essentially the main reason was that when the auditor did the analysis of the service delivery model, it found that not only are PD and DOT the primary departments requesting these tows, but the police department had the lion's share of those tows, and then also with the auto service desk and so forth that they operate, it made sense for those for that department to be the lead department in the oversight and administration of the tow contract.
Okay, thank you. As we build the tow management software, is there a way for us to, or is there data available that can show us which neighborhoods are bearing a burden of a majority of the abandoned vehicles?
I'll let Captain Spears chime in, but I will say with the new service delivery model and the software that's going to be implemented as part of that, we're going to see a huge expansion of tracking and data that we have around tow services. I know DOT for sure would probably have data on that specifically, and I'll let Captain Spears add in from the police department point of view.
And just to chime in, Council, tomorrow we have a follow-up meeting set forth, and I will make sure that that's addressed. But in short, yes, we will be able to see exactly where these tows are being ordered and requested.
Great. No, I appreciate that, and hopefully once we have that data, we'll be able to develop a strategy for these impacted neighborhoods, because I do know every neighborhood association I meet with, there's just abandoned cars in almost every single street. So hopefully we can start finding a resolution for that. And finally, I understand what's being advanced today is the back end of this service, performance metrics, accountability, et cetera. What I'm interested in understanding is what are we seeing as the biggest disconnect between completing tow requests and giving folks the authority to tow? Because from what I hear from my residents, I know you addressed this already, a majority of their reports go untowed. So I wanted to see what is the major, I guess, disconnect that doesn't result in tows?
I'll take that one. I really believe it's when the call comes out, and one of the things that we have to do is from a police department's perspective, is stop canceling some of the calls for service. Often a supervisor may, based off of current priorities that are pending in the city, I've seen it, I've observed it, where the call for a vehicle that's parked, the information that's shared with the police department, it's, hey, there's a vehicle here, the windows are down. So that may not equate to a call for service. That's something we should be pushing our CSOs to respond to. But ultimately, the criteria also, when law enforcement and or a CSO responds, does it meet the threshold? Just because the vehicle is disabled, things of that nature, doesn't mean that we can tow that vehicle right then and there. And then we have the 72 hours storing on the street, and then the vehicle is pushed left and right, which appears that the vehicle is moved, and that does not allow us to impound the vehicle as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. You know, in some of my neighborhoods, there's cars that have been in the same place for well over a month, and what I'm going to start doing is, you know, directly support my residents in reporting of them, and then my office can essentially be a test case to see what exactly falls through, and I look forward to providing an update of that process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Doesn't look like we have any other comments. Is there a motion to accept this report?
Motion to accept.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Unless there's any other comments, we'll move to a vote. All right, that motion carries 5-0. And that brings us to our last report of the day. This is our annual report on the capital work at the wastewater treatment plant. Carrie.
Good afternoon. Carrie Romano, Director, Environmental Services. I'm joined by David Olson. David is a principal engineer with the Water Pollution Control Plant CIP team. Unfortunately, Deputy Director Kapil Verma is out sick today, and I've asked Mariana to take care of some emerging issues at the wastewater facility. But you have David and I, and it's going to be great. David's been, like I said, with the program at least 10 years and has been intricately involved in ensuring that we stay on schedule and within budget and do the right projects at the right time. So he has no easy task before him. And with that, I'll hand it off to David to walk us through today's presentation.
All right, good afternoon. It's David Olson with the CIP. I'm here to present the annual status report for the period covering January to December 2023 for the wastewater facility CIP. As a quick reminder, the CIP is based on the plant master plan that was adopted in late 2013 by the cities of San Jose and Santa Clara, which recommended more than 100 capital projects to rehabilitate and modernize the RWF. In early 2014, staff completed a validation process that prioritized and combined these projects into more manageable project packages that formed the basis of the CIP that we have been implementing over the past 10 years. Through the end of December 2023, we have completed 26 projects and committed over $800 million for the planning, design, and construction of projects, of critical rehabilitation projects at the facility. Some of the major projects we've completed include the cogeneration facility, the digester and thickener facility upgrades, and the headworks projects. The adopted 5-year CIP has $816 million programmed in the 5 years for the construction projects, with roughly a quarter of that allocated for the current fiscal year. During this reporting period, we had 20 active projects. This chart shows that 17 of those are being delivered with the traditional design bid build delivery method. The projects highlighted in green advanced stage in our project delivery model during the period. Over our other 3 projects are being delivered using the design build approach, and those include our additional digested sludge dewatering project and headworks projects. We had 5 projects in feasibility development last year. The project team for the additional digester facility upgrades project advertised a request for proposals for owner's advisor services. The city received 4 proposals and recommended the award of an agreement to Carollo Engineers in December to TPAC. that is our treatment plant advisory committee. The council approved the agreement in January of this year. For the third and final phase of our yard piping improvements project, the consultant completed a condition assessment of several large diameter pipes, which enabled the project team to finalize the project scope and begin evaluating rehabilitation methods. It also helped to begin development of the conceptual design report for the project. During this period, we had 5 projects in design or bid and award. The project team for the RWF Main Entrance Improvements project completed preliminary and detailed design and advertised the project for bid in February of this year. The bid opening is scheduled actually for later this week, and the bottom picture on this slide is a rendering of the planned entrance. Our new Headworks Access Road project also completed design documents over the past year and was advertised last month. The bid opening is in 2 weeks, and the construction contract is anticipated to go to TPAC and Council in May. In 2023, the facility-wide water systems improvement project completed design and was advertised for bid. In May, we received 4 bids, and in December, the contract was recommended for award at TPAC. Council awarded the construction contract to Ranger Pipeline in January, and construction is expected to begin this month. Substantial completion is anticipated in mid-2027. The top picture here shows the sprawling water infrastructure that the project will address. Finally, we have 10 projects in construction, ranging in value between $3 million and $131 million. As you can see from this map, quite a few of the project sites overlap with one another, in some cases requiring CIP staff to coordinate construction activities to ensure that, to actually prevent impacts to schedule and budget. Due to the limitations on time, I'll be highlighting our 2 largest projects in this presentation. The first project I'd like to highlight is the Headworks project. Construction began in the summer of 2020 and was completed last December. This project replaced the original Headworks facility known as Headworks 1 with a new Headworks, which has been named Headworks 3. It also modified Headworks 2, which provides excess capacity in the case of storm events. The Headworks project was a massive undertaking with a total budget of $172 million. The project required extensive coordination between our operations and maintenance staff, CIP staff, the owner's advisor, C.D.M. Smith, and the design builder, CH2M Hill Engineers. The project faced many challenges, including routing a 96-inch pipe through over 200 utility conflicts, avoiding areas populated by the endangered species like burrowing owls and nesting raptors, and working through COVID-19 restrictions. The team expertly navigated these challenges and delivered the project on budget. This time-lapse animation shows the construction progress between July 2020 and October 2023. There's an average of about 4 months between each image, condensing roughly 40 months of construction down to a mere 18 seconds. We'll let it cycle through one more time. We also wanted to share a couple of photos from the ribbon cutting ceremony that was held last October to commemorate the completion of Headworks 3. It was a nice moment to pause and acknowledge the hard work of so many people who helped deliver this successful project. The second project I'd like to highlight is the digested sludge dewatering facility. In the beginning of the year, the design builder Walsh completed dewatering of the site and concrete work in various areas. In the summer, Walsh completed tank foundations in the sludge storage and pump station areas and completed piping in the east section of G Street, which is that long stretch of road between the 2 construction areas there. In the fall, the work on the sludge storage tank, main dewatering facility, and truck loadout facilities continued. Through December, the construction was approximately 50% complete. Substantial completion is expected in fall of 2025, and the total project budget is $176 million. Let's see if the video will work. Okay. So this is drone footage following the 6 pipelines being installed under G Street, which runs along the south border of the RWF's main operational area. 2 pipes will transport sludge to the new dewatering building on the other side of Zanker Road. 2 other pipes will return centrate, the liquid produced at the dewatering facility, back to headworks for additional treatment. The last 2 pipes transport stormwater and process water. The pipe material is high-density polyethylene, and pipe sizes range from 10 inches to 12 inches in diameter. And this is actually following the pipe from west to east from the storage tanks to the new dewatering facility, and you'll catch a glimpse of it just as the drone is about to turn. So that's right across the street there. And it loops back. The storage tank is just at the top of the screen. Here are just a few photos of the construction progress. On the left is a precast manhole that has been lowered into a trench as part of our new storm drain system. The photo on the upper right shows the wall forms of one of the 2 sludge storage tanks. In the center shows the further progress of the 2 tanks in construction. And the bottom photo shows the design builder placing the first deck section for the new dewatering building. And finally, I just wanted to take a look at what we're expecting to get done in December, or through December of 2024. And over this calendar year, quite a few of our projects in construction, 7 of our 10, we're expecting to reach substantial completion this year, which will be a significant milestone for the program. We are also planning and actually have advertised the construction contracts for the new Headworks Access Road and main entrance improvements projects. And we also anticipate obtaining council approval for those 2 projects, as well as the facility-wide water system project. And that concludes our presentation, and we're available to answer questions. Thank you.
And I appreciate how David makes it all sound so simple, to spend $800 million rebuilding the largest tertiary treatment facility west of the Mississippi while it's still operating during COVID. So thank you to David and the whole team.
Thank you, and it's not a complete presentation without drone video, so I appreciate that you put that in there. Any public comment on this item?
We have no public comment.
Okay. Any members of the committee? Motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Let's vote. Thank you so much for the update. That motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Candelas absent. That brings us to the end of our meeting and open forum. Do we have any speakers for open forum?
We have 1 card submitted for Diane Solomon. Please make your way down to the podium. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, committee. My name's Diane Solomon, and I'm a District 6 resident. I'm a cyclist. I'm a bicyclist, lifetime member of the Silicon Valley Bike Coalition, longtime San Jose Bike Party member. I bicycle more than I drive my car. I'm also a member of your Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, but I may not represent them today. Too many of our city's pedestrians and bicyclists are killed by speeding automobiles, and I think almost every year it's more than the homicides. There are also uncountable hits and misses and injuries suffered by cyclists and pedestrians and people in the wheelchairs that go unreported by our emergency rooms that are related to traffic and cars and speeding. So first, I'm here to say again, remind us, please, slow down the cars and the fatalities and the injuries decrease. Right by now, you probably know by heart that it's found that about 50% of the pedestrians die when they're hit at 42 miles an hour, and people on many of our thoroughfares are going much longer than that by design, way on back to get the people to their jobs through the underserved areas. Operating speeds on our Vision Zero corridors are much higher than posted limits on the roads with inadequate traffic calming. Drivers operate at higher than posted speeds on many of the multi-lane streets that cut through our underserved neighborhoods in our city. And these are the roads that the privileged use to cut through the underserved neighborhoods. I live in Willow Glen. We're privileged by design. Currently, the King Road corridor is disadvantaged by design. Please continue to support the infrastructure that will force the cars to slow down. Please add to the capital budget the speed camera pilot program, the Vision Zero solutions, and our long neglected, vulnerable East Side residents need the King Road Complete Streets Plan put in place. Please make it a grand boulevard as well. Thank you for listening, and thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you, and back to the committee.
All right, thank you so much for the comments, and we are adjourned at 2:30 p.m.